Pole guys, we keep getting interruptions. Chakula inaletwa, hatujakula. We're here just giving you guys content while we chill. However, we are going to eat later on. Wacha tuendelee na hii content. So Fakii, Ogilvy unaingia, your target is Safaricom.
Yes.
What are you doing at Ogilvy?
So at Ogilvy, my job was assets, brand assets and experiential manager. And I'll explain that. So when companies or rather brands want to, one of the ways that brands connect with consumers is by creating a property around what is called their passion points. So let me just summarize it. So there are 4 main passion points in Africa, like what Africans love getting involved or what brings them together. So one is music, another one is football, another one is religion, another one is politics. So the last 2, of course, companies try and stay away from. So a lot of companies, big companies, especially companies that have products that are mass market, will always do stuff around football and music. Now, a brand asset is like an event or a property that you create that belongs to the brand. So for example,
Chapadimba Safaricom. Chapadimba is a brand asset of Safaricom. It's their way to connect to that market.
Groove Awards. Yeah. Though Groove Awards is more of, it's a third party event, but it's still a brand asset to some extent. Brand assets are more of what the company actually creates themselves and invests in.
It, for example, you had earlier talked about the SEMA Coca-Cola Popstars.
Yes. Coca-Cola Popstars was a brand asset of Coca-Cola.
Even Coke again have done
Coke Studio Africa. Yes, Coke Studio is a brand asset of.
Tumeelewa sahi brand asset ni nini.
So that's what I was in charge of. Now the challenge for me was, as much as I was excited about agency and my target was Safaricom, I go in there and who's my client? Airtel. And let me tell you how serious it was. Part of my interview was done by somebody from Airtel.
Whoa.
Yes, that's how serious it was. Like the client interviewed me. I can never forget, it's a guy called Mr. Obina. And the guy who used to work below Mr. Obina was a friend of mine who had also worked with a bit at Mo Sound, because he used to do some stuff for Mo Sound, was Andrew Alovi. And I'll tell you why Andrew Alovi is important in my life. So I get into Ogilvy. My direct boss is Monali. Who do I report to? At the client side, Andrew Alovi and Obina. What's my job? At that point, Airtel was just coming out of, so I missed this part, they were just coming out of the Airtel 18 project, music project, with R. Kelly, with Kina Amani, you know. So I'm just coming in, and Airtel was putting together, or rather had put together, the Airtel Rising Stars. So Airtel Rising Stars was a youth football tournament around the country. Now, important, remember, when I was at Capitol, we did the Coca-Cola football tournament.
No wonder they hired you.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, now this is Airtel Rising Stars. Now, remember the conversation we had about growth? So now I've moved to a company where I'm not just handling Kenya. I'm handling 17 markets. So I'm managing the brand asset of Airtel Rising Stars in 17 markets in Africa. Growth.
That's crazy.
So,
and I'll tell you why this is important for me. And then,
so now, I get into a space where previously you were thinking things about Kenya, or even in Carnivore I was just thinking Nairobi. At Capital at least I was thinking Kenya, but mostly Nairobi. At Mo Sound I was thinking Kenya, but largely Nairobi. Now I'm thinking other markets, including Kenya. You see the difference?
Yes, I hear.
And it's markets where some of the markets are French markets. So you need to figure out a bit of French, but also you need to figure out in those markets who are your contacts who can speak English. Because a status meeting with Kenya English speaking that takes half an hour, with the French markets can take 3 hours. Because you know the way I can tell you one sentence,
it has to be
but when it's translated it sounds like a whole paragraph. Yeah. So now here we are dealing with 17 markets, and of course because it's a big project I'm also working very closely with Ogilvy, and then of course reporting to Monali. Then so we did Airtel Rising Stars that year, 2015, and even 2016. And at some point, I wish I could remember when, there is somebody who I'd met in 2010, thanks to I'd met through Nonini in 2010. But she ended up working with me, and if you do her CTA, she'll tell you I was her boss. But we ended up working together and working on this project, Airtel Rising Stars, for a while. I think we worked with her for about 1 year, 1.5 years. And we even traveled to different parts of Africa with her. This was Pierre Makana, DJ Pierre. DJ. Yes. Pierre used to sit next to me, and she had 2 laptops. She had her work laptop and her DJ laptop, because she's working, but she's also preparing for her gig in the evening. Yeah. So
how was it working at? First of all, I'm shocked I didn't bump into you at this time. You know why? Because was there a guy called Mugambi there?
Yeah.
So Mugambi is at Ogilvy also at this time.
Yes. Kwanza Mugambi. Yeah.
And even another story that I'm sure somebody will bring on later in your story. At the time I was one of the directors at a company called AMP.
I know that. So let me tell you why we didn't really bump into each other, but we should have, especially because we worked with the MP a lot, and I'll tell you. So when I was at Ogilvy, the one thing that was I was not happy with. Initially I was okay with, because I'd been told that that's how it is. But I grew to not like it.
To loathe it.
Yeah, no, loathe is such a strong word. The challenge that I had was my job was very restricted to Airtel. I was not allowed to touch any other brand. So that's why we didn't interface.
MP.
I know what you're about to say.
The typography.
Yes.
For Airtel.
I know.
Country. That's when you've talked about the different countries and having to translate that whole thing.
I know that because I traveled with Tony Mwaura. Yeah. I traveled with Tony Mwaura to Nigeria. I traveled with Tony Mwaura, I think, to Ghana, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
But definitely traveled with Tony Mwaura to Rwanda.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why. So you are liaising directly with Tony.
Yes. So we used to go around different countries. Like say, first I used to have to go around different countries to check on how they're executing Airtel Rising Stars. So how we used to do it because Kenya was the head office for Airtel in Africa. So the Airtel Rising Stars Bible came from us. So it was created by Obina, Alovi, and Monali. Then when I came in, I added on to it. But now our job, especially Alovi and I, we were to go around the different markets to show them how to implement it.
Yeah,
while
yeah.
Alovi is talking to the Airtel office there, I'm talking to the agencies there. So we travel a lot with Alovi. Yani,
that's why Alovi has photos of you sleeping like an ant.
Yeah. But those ones came later.
So, how was this experience for you? I want because now, Fakii, you're talking about, and I want to zone into your. This is an Africa experience. Let me use the right word. This is a continental experience that you're having. As you said, hey, Fakii, the other day you're talking about walking from Nakuru. You know what I mean? This is looking at. I sort of like the question I asked Sam Gishuru about Jack Ma, how he views Africa, and he views Africa like not, he doesn't see countries, he sees one block. For this, you have to see the same block, but how was it?
You see it as the same block, yes, but of course you have to understand the different nuances of the different countries. I'll give you an example. So like, I think it's the month of April or March. Some month, because Airtel is red, there's a certain month in Rwanda we couldn't do activities because they commemorate
of the genocide.
The genocide. Now your brand is red. So it's not a good color around that time. So you can't do stuff around that time. So there are those nuances to understand.
But in your head at the same time, you're thinking in the evening, I have a meeting with somebody from Nigeria.
Yes. You know. So so as much as, yes, you look at it as one block, for us, we ended up dividing it into different blocks in terms of, number one, the time zones, so that, you know, I can have a call with guys of these countries at this time, then I can have a call with guys of these countries at this time because of time differences. And then secondly also, English speaking, French speaking.
Yes, Anglophone countries and the rest.
Actually, the division was Anglophone and Francophone. That was the and then also, because our job also involved interfacing with the media houses in the different markets. So part of what you guys used to shoot as AMP then used to end up as TV shows in the different markets. So you guys would bring it, then we have to take it for translation so that it now airs in the different markets. So yes, you look at it as a block, but then you have to segment. So now there were two, I think there were two main segmentations, Anglophone and Francophone, and then there were different tiers of the countries based on their revenue contribution to the mother company. Now, this is where, remember when I was talking about Carnivore, I talked about how we'd understand the different team nights and their target, the audience and the amount of money they bring in, and how then you look to fix that, you know. So now here, this is now an Africa-wide scale where you're being told revenue for Ghana is this, revenue for Niger is this, revenue for Nigeria is this. So it impacts on, you're told Airtel Rising Stars Africa, for example, you're told, okay, you'll have $1 million as a budget, for example. You need to apportion that budget based on their needs, but also based on their revenue. So you'll find a huge country that has a lower revenue than another small country, but you need to figure out how to allocate funds.
For you, what is this doing to you? Is this growth on steroids?
It's teaching me a lot. It's growth on steroids because, number one, it's teaching me a lot about Africa. It's teaching me a lot about business cases based on revenue, like deeper, like Carnivore had that, yes. But now this
data is
in a
steroids.
major way. You see, all through, even down to HomeBoyz, because whatever we were doing, I was not, yes, you'd see the money, but we never had meetings to say, okay, in this department, revenue is going down, so we need to figure out how to fix this, you know. But here now, you're looking at all those. So you're handling brand assets, but you're in a management meeting where all these things are being reviewed, and you have to listen, because now at some point someone says we are losing we're losing market share within the youth segment. How can Airtel Rising Stars help us?
And also remember, you had seen it with Stylus.
Yes.
That it had increased revenue sales of Sprite.
Exactly.
Through asset. God
Yes.
doesn't waste nothing.
Yes.
That small thing is what you're doing now on a continental scale with crazy data and different budgets. Okay.
And then the other thing, and it's something that, and of course I have to say it carefully, because I'll tell you this and you'll see it in my stories. I've traveled quite considerably. But my travels are always courtesy of work. I'm saying this so that it doesn't come out like I have the money to keep on traveling. A lot of my trips outside this country, actually I can't think of a trip self-funded out of the country. All my trips have always been work trips. But what, when people say you need to travel and expand your thinking. When you travel in Africa, you'll appreciate Kenya. We are not where we want to be in Kenya. And it's not an excuse for remaining where we are in Kenya. But when you travel outside of Kenya, you appreciate Kenya.
100%.
There are things that you see in other countries, let me tell you.
Even just the airport. Just the airport.
An airport where you see people, the things people are doing, and it's an international airport. And for me, like now, this was Nigeria. You look at the airport, then you don't understand how they have, at that point, they have direct flights, and you guys are struggling to get direct flights. I'm like, you guys were making that decision of direct flights. Have you seen this airport? And then those travels are the ones that made me understand, when a lot of South Africans, when you go, you've been to South Africa. When you go to South Africa, a lot of people ask you, are you from Africa? So you wonder, but seriously, in Africa. Then it hits you. To them, they don't look at their country as South Africa. Like it's in the southern part of Africa.
No.
They look at it as it's in the south of Africa. Like Chimia Africa. So their thinking is very different. Now, for me, this job also got me to understand how different markets think. And like in Nigeria, maybe they've started now, but for me, when I traveled there, the way people here go out and do shots. In Nigeria, they don't do shots. Like we went out with Kinatoni, and guys were asking for shots. I'm like, what are those?
You buy booties here.
Oh, yeah, you buy a bottle.
You buy booties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, the time when I was thrown into the deep end in Nigeria, and then I had to stay there for 3 weeks, there are some things I appreciated. Let me tell you, three things. Number one, Nigerian chili is so harsh. And then it's normal in like all their food to the point where, because me, I don't do chili in my food at all. So I used to take like rice and ketchup was my stew. Because I couldn't take their stew. It had chili. It was harsh. Number two, because of the project we were doing, and I had to go, the way you can come into Kenya and you stay at Kempinski or, those top hotels. Now me, I had to go deep down, So I went to an area in Nigeria called Ikeja. And not in a disrespectful way, but it's like you come into Kenya to do a project, then you're staying in a hotel in Riruta Satellite. Because the activity that you're about to do is around there.
Yep.
And I stayed there for 3 weeks. Let me tell you, there's a day when I went to my room and I was wondering, what's different? It took me a while to realize that what's different is today we have power. Because I was used to generator sound. Generator full time. You get so used to it that when now there is proper power, you're like, Allah, it's quiet. But now, the third thing.
So I said that's why Nigerians are loud. Because they always vibe.
Because they have to vibe. By the way, it's 2 reasons why they are loud. I believe they are loud like that. Number one, because of the generators. Number 2, because they are many, they fight amongst themselves, you know. So number 3, someday, because I used to struggle to try and get like different food that doesn't have chili. So one day, as a colleague from the Nigeria office was escorting me to the hotel where I was staying at, we passed by a bakery. You know, like when you pass outside a bakery and you just smell that nice bread, you know. So I was so excited. So I went and bought bread. Then I bought a packet of milk. I said, I swear that's my supper today. Today I'm not doing rice and ketchup. So I go to my room. You know the way you go to your room, then you want to eat it properly. So you go in, take a shower, sit down, find something to watch on TV. Then now you sit down. Then I took the first bite of the bread. Oh, like what the hell? I look at the bread from now, the bitten piece, and I see something black inside. I'm like, wow, this is how bad this bread is spoiled. But I'm wondering, because we bought it from a bakery.
What's up?
It's supposed to be fresh,
Yeah.
you know? So I had to throw it away. Then I slept. I just drank milk and slept. I was hungry. So the next day I asked my colleague, Bana. No, he asked me, so how did you have a good night? I'm like, yeah, but I'm hungry, man. And he's like, I thought you bought bread and milk. Or was it not enough? I was like, no, the bread was bad. What do you mean bad? We bought it from a bakery. No, it had something black. Then told me, oh, you made a mistake. You bought the one that has fish inside. Who does that? How do you put fish inside? Imagine. Hey, let me tell you.
The culture. It's a different culture.
Culture shock. Yeah.
Literally culture shock.
Culture shock. Yeah. So we traveled a lot.
What did you love about Nigeria? Because I'm like, Nigeria is an acquired taste. Not acquired taste. Nigeria, you either love or hate.
I loved how they love themselves.
Did you see the music perspective of Nigeria?
Yeah.
At this time, are you still...
A bit.
Or, by the way, in this time, is your mentality still thinking music and entertainment? Or you're grind?
No. At this point, I was thinking more of sports. I was thinking more of sports. And, see, this was what year?
Post 2010.
Wait. 2010.
What do you mean, post 2014?
No. Remember, I left. No, wait. 2011 is when I was at More Sound. 2012 January is when I got into Ogilvy. I was more into sports. And I'll tell you something significant that happened in my life. Because of handling this project that was sports, I got more into sports thinking than music. So I stepped away from music a bit and got into sports. So I was learning a lot of things. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of football at that point. But then now, because of this project we were doing, part of it was to encourage young guys, because we were saying like, you could be the next Drogba, or you could be the next.
Yeah.
So now, an important element of this job was that, or rather this project was, we were managing, because Airtel had signed partnership deals with Arsenal and Manchester United. And back to how these Airtel countries were divided into Anglophone and Francophone, some of the markets had more of Arsenal fans, and some of the markets had more of Man United fans. Now, we then had to differentiate which markets of the 17 get Arsenal as their partner and which markets get Man United as their partner. So as we are doing the football tournament with the I remember it was 13 to 17, that was the age range that we were looking at, so it was mostly high schools. As we were doing that, to manage this relationship, part of it used to be activations that the main brand used to do in the different markets, and then they choose people who we then organize for them to go and watch a game at Old Trafford or at
the other one.
What's it called? The Arsenal Stadium.
I can't believe it's gone. I say Arsenal. Yeah.
That one. So, but
Anfield. No. Anfield is
Anfield is
Liverpool. Yeah.
Emirates. No. Emirates is their sponsor. My God.
I can't believe it's loud.
Anyway, so Arsenal unajua. So our job was so we used to get merchandise from Arsenal and Man United, and then now we distribute to the different countries. So now that we used to do with Alovi. So we get the merchandise, it comes to Kenya, then now we have to send it to the different countries. What that did for me, because also part of the selling point to the different markets was we would do we would pick promising players from each country, as well as would pick promising players from different countries, and then based on how we had divided them into Arsenal markets and Man United markets. By the notice, I'm not saying Man U, I'm saying Man United, because the brand guidelines of the team, you can't write Man U. You have to write Man United, UTD, or the full name, brand guidelines. So yeah. So the way we had divided the markets into Arsenal markets and Man United markets, we used to have coaches from those teams come into one country at the end of the tournament to do a training camp, to manage a training camp for the promising kids from different countries. So remember when I told you we had gone to Ghana, we went to Rwanda, we went to Nigeria. Those were training camps where now the kids from some markets would go into Nigeria, others go into, because one country you're doing the Arsenal training camp, the other one you're doing the Man United training camp. Now, part of our selling was to show these kids how they can be the next so-and-so. And because those training camps, they also used to feature ex-players from both teams coming into the country. Because of having to tell the story of you can grow into this, I started getting interested in what's this, and this being football.
Yes.
This is how I explain how I'm a Chelsea fan, but I'm a Chelsea fan who came in with Abramovich when he bought the team in 2013, because it was around the same time of this. I also got interested at that point because I wondered, why is a Russian billionaire who deals in oil buying a football team? So it made me question. Yes, in the UK. So it made me question a lot. So now these two things, I decided I need to understand the business of football, rather the business of sports.
Yep.
And so my case study was Chelsea because of Abramovich.
Yep.
So that's how I ended up as a fan of Chelsea.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And what is the reason? What was his reason for buying the company?
There was a business case.
It would make the ROI would.
And I'll tell you, Yani, how this
comes to say, yeah, you in your life.
yes.
So okay, go on.
So we did this project, Airtel Rising Stars.
Let me ask this question, and now this is more from an understanding, business perspective understanding. So, what is the ROI win for Airtel in doing this project?
So number one, you start. Okay, it's a brand asset that endears the brand to the community. You start getting subscribers from an early stage. Because you see, if your child is part of this program and you can see what this program is doing for your child, it's very easy for you to then get to then use Airtel.
Yeah, it's like the way I'll never leave Safaricom, not because of MPESA, but more so because I started using it from the time I was a kid.
And then also with Safaricom, you've seen the stuff they do in the community. They do a lot of stuff in the community, so much so that you see that they are more than just a commercial brand. They actually now start, one of the right answers would be they start getting into your heart. Okay. Early on as a consumer, then you end up sticking with them. So that was Airtel. Of course, they used to do the activations around it.
Yep.
But the big thing was just to connect with consumers, and the consumer group that they wanted to connect with was this young group.
And you didn't do any other activations for Airtel aside out of this Rising Stars?
We just as I was about to leave, we were putting together, I can't remember what we even called it. We were putting together a new brand asset for music. But by the time I was leaving, we didn't go far. So I stayed at Ogilvy for 3 years, 2012, 2 years and something.
2 years and some change.
Yeah. So so we did that with Alovi. Then at some point, Airtel started selling off the company in some markets. So even the scope of Airtel Rising Stars was reduced.
So it wasn't just one season that you did Airtel Rising Stars?
We did 2012, 2013, 2014. No, so around 2014, then the scope started being reduced.
Okay.
Then as it was being reduced, then even some markets started becoming independent, where now some markets would say, this property is not a priority for us. We have something more pressing that we would want to do with this money. So at that point then, the different countries were becoming independent.
Yeah.
So they would actually make a call and say, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. And you could see the business sense of it. Like when you look at the money allocated, you're like, actually, you know what, you guys, there's something better you can do with this money, you know. So the scope kept on being reduced, then to the point where now markets I call them markets, that's what we used to call them, the different countries then started handling the projects on their own.
Yeah.
So our scope became reduced. Now, at that same time, because I was still at Ogilvy and my contract was still strictly Airtel, I really tried to start getting involved in, like, say when Coca-Cola were doing something, like I would see the team handling Coca-Cola doing something, I would go and sit there. I see the team handling Nestle doing something, I go and sit there. But then when some bosses would see me, it would be a problem.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, because my contract was strict. And you see, at that point, then my workload has reduced. So at some point, I'm just chilling.
So why would the bosses though get upset? You're coming to offer value. Or the politics of, now this is the politics of agency.
Yeah. Plus also, they don't want to annoy the client.
Oh.
Because you see, if you get too involved, then one day the client calls, you can't say I'm at a Coca-Cola meeting. Because you're supposed to be an Airtel resource, you know. So,
so you're being paid and you're just sitting down?
Yeah. Then at some point, Monali left. Monali grew in the company, Ogilvy, then she left. Then she went to Coca-Cola. So when she went to Coca-Cola, I told Monali, you can't leave me. You can't leave me here, man. You can see me struggling.
Will Monali needs her own city.
Yeah,
Yani Monali amekusaidia.
You can't leave me here, Monali. You know. Then she was like, whatever she told me, it was more of, I hear you.
But so, Monali, that word sounds strong.
Yes, it is. By there, I always say, I can never go hungry in my life as long as Monali is alive.
What?
Yes. Monali Shah. I can never go hungry.
Yeah, that's deep.
Alive. Yeah.
That's deep.
So, Monali has been celebrated as one of the top 50 women in business.
What?
Yes. I think this is something that came out like last week or something. Let me tell you, she's at the same level as Deborah Maloa. You remember Deborah Maloa?
Yes.
EABL, you know she's at Coke now.
Yes.
Yeah, same level. Like they're being celebrated the same. Monali was just DJ Lil Mo. Yeah. Monali is head of integrated marketing communications for Coca-Cola Africa. Like those markets report to her.
Okay.
So, at that time as I was struggling,
And you're not struggling financially. You're
No.
struggling.
It's boredom. It's boredom.
With
It's
every
boredom.
new devil comes with every new level comes a new devil. As a saying Kanji like saying.
But now, kumbe, at the same time as I'm struggling, because at Airtel, the way things have changed, our big boss Obina, who Alovi was reporting to, had also left the company. So now my direct boss was Alovi. Now, kumbe Alovi also is suffering. He's bored. Yeah? Now, I'll tell you why this boredom of ours is important.